Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and joining me tonight, as ever, he's back and he's just recovered from the transfer deadline day podathon. It's Danny the GFP. Hello, Danny.
You nearly didn't get that out.
Nearly.
Just like my beige nips.
Just like your beige nips. I had faggots for tea.
Oh, juicy faggots.
Oh, lovely stuff.
Oh.
Next up, hopefully he's cheered up a bit from Monday night. It's GC from She Wore a Yellow Ribbon.
Just don't mention faggots and we'll be fine.
Or how we've spent the last half an hour getting you to use Skype.
Oh, it's been a fucking wonder. It'd be easier to teach my cat how to use Skype.
In that time, I've taught the dog the alphabet.
In German.
In German.
With lots of umlauts. Hey, see what I did there?
I like it.
Oh.
You think you're so fucking funny, don't you?
No,
You two?
I deny that.
Seriously, I'm really debating which one of you two I'm going to kill last.
Please,
Can it be me first so I can laugh at you trying to kill Danny?
Yeah, well, I can't get away, can I?
You've got wheels, just get him on a hill.
A slight incline and I'm fucked.
Next, every week he adds a little sanity to the madness. He's stolen Danny's lady's favourite tag and he won't give it back. It's FK. Hello, mate.
Hey, good evening, guys. Good evening, listeners. How's everyone?
Yeah, we're all right. I had faggots for tea.
That is a very interesting situation.
I bet FK hasn't even eaten yet, have you?
No, not yet, mate. Had a horrendous day at work. Just got in, quick shower, ready for this, and then I'm going to go and eat.
So with every second that rolls on, we're keeping you from food.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Oh, wonderful. So, Gav, what have you been up to today?
Well, I had a lovely dinner actually.
Oh,
In respect for our new signing, who until we work out the pronunciation is known as Mr. O. I had a kebab.
Oh, I had faggots for dinner. Right.
Fuck off.
And finally, making his full debut on a Bergkamp Wonderland. You may have heard him on Monday's mini-pods, but he's back here again. It's Andrew, or as we know him from Twitter, it's PR_who are you. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Gim. How are you doing, mate? All right.
Yeah, we're all good, I think. I would tell you I've had faggots for dinner, but I think it's been done.
I know, I've just been eating McCoys in my office whilst you guys have been banging on about beige nips and faggots. I'm quite jealous right now.
All of this is going to be on the Christmas Best Of podcast, by the way. Available in your local HMV, or not.
Yeah, no. In your local Andy's Records. Our price.
But before we start, Danny, I think we've got to go over to you because you've got some results for us, haven't you? And they're not.
Yeah, it says
results.
Stop scratching it, take the penicillin, and behave yourself, and it should go away in 6 to 8 years.
And you'll be like Hayley Cropper off of Coronation Street.
If I watched that Northern Monkey trash, I'd have some idea what you're on about.
Just put it like this: you got 6 months. Anyway.
Oh dear. Good. One less Northerner to worry about. Thank you very much. Oh dear, what have I done? Right, put North on the list of people we fucked off.
Well, that's going to need editing.
One of my best mates is from Bolton. Hello, Mick. Bolton fan, if you're listening. Not that he ever fucking bothers.
Mick McCarthy?
Mick Dagger. He's a postman in Bolton. If you know a Mick Dagger who's a postman in Bolton, hello, Mick. Tell him I said hello.
Oh, Mick Jagger. Sorry, go on. Carry on.
Excellent. Right, the under-21s. So after their absolutely shit pre-season, where they couldn't win the toss of a coin and were getting spanked left, right and centre, they played away at Stoke, drew 2-2. Thomas Eisfeld getting both of those. Did I say Eisfeld right?
Who knows?
Good. Excellent. Then after that, they went away to Blackburn and they won 3-0. With Boateng, Akpom and AJI. Now, see, he's gone and changed his name just to make it hard for me to fucking read out. Now, stop it. Right, the next under-21 game is the 7th of October. Because we've got so few players, I think they virtually cancelled every single fucking game. That's over a month to the game, and that's away at Wolves, 7 o'clock. The under-21s drew 1-1 away at Sunderland, with Hines scoring. Their next game is this Saturday, 10:45. Do we play our under-18 games at the Burton? Or do we play them? We don't use Barnet anymore, do we?
No, I don't think we do.
Even Barnet don't use Barnet anymore.
They certainly do. They got the Beehive. All praise the Edgar Davids, the Barnet days. Bless him, he's a fucking legend. Right, and the ladies, as usual, spanking everyone. They won 1-0 away at Chelsea with Danielle. How do you say the female version of Danielle? Danielle.
It's Danielle.
Because
Danielle.
Daniel's the main version and Danielle's the female
Ah,
version. isn't
I
it?
should know. That is my fucking name. Danielle Carter scored the goal, and their next game is tonight. It kicked off 14 minutes ago. They're away at Lincoln, which isn't too far north of me. But it's a giant shithole, so probably no one from there's gone there to watch them play because it's a fucking. I went there once, didn't like it. Never
so
going again.
You've offended the whole of the North
Yep,
and Lincoln.
yep.
I'd have thought you'd have had him on the pronunciation of things, Gav. He's always ripping into you. There was your opportunity and you missed it.
Look, if he's going to be so stupid he can't even pronounce Danielle, I'll leave him to it.
It's wrong.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
It's not
Exactly. First up, I'd like to start with a North London derby. And we'll go straight over to GC. How did it feel to get one over on the scum?
It's just always just a relief at the end of the game, isn't it, to be honest with you. I say my missus went up there. I watched it indoors on my own with me little baby fast asleep on the sofa next to me. But it's just a relief just to get it out of the way and just to know that all those sad, mongy, deluded bastards from Middlesex have just got nothing to get over on you for the time being. As for the actual play itself, I thought we'd done all right. It was a little bit sort of like running out of players by the end of it, really, which is why we ended up with 2 left backs and 2 right backs on the pitch, which I thought was a bit odd. But I think we done all right. We done enough to do it. If it wasn't for their keeper, we could have got 2 or 3 in the first half, and we should have rolled that out a little bit more comfortable than we did. But at the end of the day, them sort of games, and against Tottenham, it's not really the performance that matters. It's actually beating the fucking scumbags. That's all that matters, really.
Here. And FK, what pros and cons did you get out of the game?
Well, I would echo what GC was saying. I mean, the pro is obviously beating them, shutting a few people up. I think a lot of people were writing Arsenal off before the game, saying that Spurs had bought really well, and to be fair, they had. But you can never underestimate Arsenal. When we were like a wounded animal, and on the day, I didn't enjoy it. I've got to be honest. I think I've actually concluded that I don't, as much as I look forward to the North London derbies, I get right up for it, buzzing until the day comes. I don't actually enjoy the 90 minutes. It's not much fun. It's neck biting. It's nerve wracking. It's but when the full time whistle went, all of us went absolutely bananas. So the pros, we won, clean sheet, shut them up, sent them down packing for a few months, and in terms of performances, I'd agree with Gav. I mean, I didn't think it was an amazing performance. I didn't think we played badly, but Giroud scored another fantastic goal. Thought Santi Cazorla was absolutely magic. Watching that guy play football is just ridiculous sometimes. And Szczesny another clean sheet. So really pleased. Con side of things, I don't think you can have any negatives. I mean, when the fixtures come out at the start of the season, it's the first game you look for, right? As an Arsenal fan, you just want to see when you're taking on the enemy, and we had them at home, and we did the job. So I'm delighted, all just happy all round, really. No bad things from me.
I think the main positives that I got from it were Mertesacker again. What a rock he is at the centre of that defence. I mean, Andrew, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, completely. I think for me, the 2 real pros of the game was the fact that we really absorbed a lot of pressure, and the defensive discipline of the team. It was like the old George Graham days. At one point, I think the second half, Tottenham were pretty much camped an hour half. They had lots of possession. I think Capoue and Polino both looked quite clever on the ball. But when it came to trying to break us down, they just weren't creative at all. I think Mertesacker, Koscielny and Flamini, they were all solid for us. And then in terms of getting forward, I think even though Spurs probably had a lot more of the ball, I think they had about 57%, and a lot of that was in our half. We were much more effective. I think we broke them down a lot easier. I think, as FK mentioned, Cazorla was fantastic. I think he played about 20, or I read about 20 crucial passes in the final third, and Polino only played about 9. So I think it was a really positive game throughout. I think that Giroud up top was certainly our man of the match. He's looking a lot more intelligent this year. He's got confidence. He's got a new haircut. His pecker's up. I think that's fantastic to see. And as FK rightly said, I think they did us proud, and we kind of really roared them on at the end of the game, and that's all we could really ask for from the guys.
I'll tell you what, just on that note, Andrew, the atmosphere was electric. I don't know how many of us kind of went to the game there from the podcast on Sunday, but I thought the atmosphere was just unbelievable. We got behind the team from the get-go, and obviously when we scored, the whole place was just rocking. I thought if we can repeat that, and I know it's a shame, obviously we tend to do it for the bigger games like the Barca's, the Milans and North London derbies, but if we could do that every game, I mean, just imagine what a fortress the Emirates could be. Sorry, I just picked up your point there, Andrew. It's a really, really good point about the Raw.
No,
yeah,
definitely.
I mean,
Go on, Andrew.
No, I sit down in the. I just moved from the clock end to the West Bank lower, just behind Wenger now, and it looked like after the game, because Koscielny looked, he looked physically surprised at just how much it meant to the fans. I know obviously Giroud was kind of walking the walk and getting a lot of the praise, but a lot of obviously the other players came over, and Koscielny's face kind of just really summed up, how our happiness permeated onto the players. I think they really took a lot, and obviously we took a lot from their performance, and it was fantastic to see. Hopefully we can keep up that kind of atmosphere throughout the season.
Yeah, definitely. One of the other positives that I get from that is Giroud and his movement, and the fact that for me he seemed like he was all over the park that day. I touched on Mertesacker getting his head on pretty much everything that came in, but when Mertesacker missed it, it seemed like Giroud had it covered from corners and things like that, and it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it seemed like the team just had a certain graft about them. I mean, I know that it was only 1-0, and as you guys have said, we soaked up a lot of pressure. But individual performances that game were fantastic, and we did really stick together as a unit. Danny, what do you think about it?
I'm just picturing in my mind when the ball come. I think it was Koscielny who ran to the centre circle, and then it was either Capoue or Paulino who ran at him as in the centre circle, and we're still with the ball. Koscielny did a 360 with the ball and then pass it out to Walcott. Now, was Koscielny that did that just before the goal?
I can't remember that moment, if I'm being honest. I mean, I've watched it back a couple of times, but
because I always like to look back at it and see where the goal started and how the build-up of the goal started, and I thought that was brilliant. That was brilliant control of the ball there, and passing it out to Theo. And then the other really impressive thing is that even 6 months ago, that if Giroud would have got the ball with the goalie in front of him, two defenders to the right of him, and one coming in from the left of him, he would have been in the shit. He would have lost it, put it over, but he placed it. It's not like he had a lucky shot, stumbled and put it in. He placed it. He knew exactly what he was going to do, and that was a fantastic thing to see. And also the fact that Lloris, Vertonghen, and Capoue were three players that. Two of them we definitely were looking at buying, and the other one we'd been rumoured to have. That three of them were on the other team, and they still, even with all those players and 105 million quid, and us having spent bugger all, still showed them how to play football.
I think if you took Lloris away from that game, I think it could have even been 3-0, to be honest with you. And that's not me looking at through my Arsenal tinted glasses. That's me looking at definitely when Theo was through. If he hadn't have got that tackle absolutely spot on, and it's very hard for me to sit here and talk well of the scum, but yeah, if it wasn't for Lloris in goal that day, I mean, if they'd have had someone like Gomez or Friedel in there, that could have been easily 3-0.
I think Flamini was brilliant as well. The way Flamini, what did we say last podcast? We wanted him to come on and get stuck in. Within seconds, he'd come on and he started kicking people.
Smack someone, yeah.
He come on in the 44th. He was booked in the 55th. 11 minutes late. I mean, it's just after half time. That was absolutely brilliant, just what we needed to see. And that's that. I know we were a little bit annoyed with him because he left us on a free, but we got him on a free transfer from Marseille when his contract ran out there. And so we got him back again. He's only 29. I think that he can be a brilliant player for us in that position of defensive midfield and covering all of the other positions behind him, apart from goalie. I think he can do that for 2 or 3 years. I know he's got a 2-year contract with a 1-year option, and I think that's a fantastic signing.
He done himself the world of good, didn't he, Flamini? He come on and he had a good game. And like I say, as you said, he was always bound to kick someone straight away. I think everybody was waiting for it.
That's what we've missed over the years.
Well, exactly. And it wasn't just his play as well. I mean, he was organising people. He was pointing to people. He was shouting at people. He was putting people in positions. And I think he sort of helped sit in front of the back four. And whereas it only seems like there was sort of Mertesacker that was doing any sort of organisation, I think his age and experience and just sort of the type of player he is, he's going to help the organisation when we are defending. And the fact, I mean, let's be honest about it. I mean, I think we're giving Tottenham miles too much credit. I mean, they didn't really have that many chances, even though like the last 20 minutes they was all over us and in our half. They didn't have any clear-cut chances. There wasn't much time when you thought, oh fucking hell, that just went wide or that just went over, or the keeper's pulled a good save. Chesney pulled off better saves in the first half than he did in the second half, and that was just down to the formation and having someone in there. And it is what we've missed. He's a little tiger in midfield. He's a little midfield general that perhaps we have been missing for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and one of the good things was you saw, and you said that he shouted at people. One of the first things he did when he came on was he got on Walcott's back and he shouted at Theo. And the other thing, I'd like to touch on that as well. We know from speaking to Dave Hillier in the last Thursday night pod, he said one of the one things you do in a derby is you come on and you put the boot in to let the guy know that you're there. And I think that's what he did. And for me, it was kind of a veteran's performance, even though he's looks like a young head on old shoulders, so to speak. Andrew, would you go with that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. No, I think quite a few people in my office and other Arsenal fans I've been speaking to as well say exactly the same about when he's come on in midfield, he's really organising that midfield, and it's something that I think even though we've got experience with players like Arteta and Rosicky in the squad, I think Flamini, he's that experienced pro. He's been there, he's done that. He's got years of Champions League experience. He's played with world class players at AC Milan. I think he's going to have a real impact in that midfield, not just on the pitch and not just match days. I think in training as well, players like Ramsey, players like Wilshere are going to learn a lot from having him in the squad. And I know obviously we brought him on a free, and it wasn't like the 20 million Lars Bender we wanted. But I think in terms of what Arsene Wenger can get out of him, I think he's going to add a significant amount of value to that squad. Yeah, and as you say, he is that pit bull that we've needed for a long time. Someone who's just going to give the opposition a bit of a whack. Because we, all too often we're the ones on the kind of the receiving end of being smacked up into the air by teams up north. But yeah, I think definitely a very fantastic, if not shrewd, signing by Wenger.
So FK, would you start Flamini next game?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I mean, he certainly proved his fitness and his ability, and I would echo everything that all the gents have said so far. I mean, he's definitely an astute purchase by us, and he knows the club, he knows the system, he knows our style. I think what impressed me more about his performance on Sunday was just the way he was screaming instructions to a bunch of players that he's obviously just been training with for a couple of weeks. I think that's something that he's learned with his maturity when he went to Milan, playing with the likes of Gattuso and all that kind of stuff, and just really, becoming more confident, more mature. Whether he starts or not, it depends. I mean, Sunderland away, that is our next game, I believe. It's a tricky one. So, I mean, who's to say why not? I mean, I think he did really well. If he's fit enough, then you'd certainly consider him. It's a difficult one also because obviously you wonder whether our new signing is going to start Mesut Özil, or however you're going to pronounce him for the rest of the show, and whether you drop either Jack or Rambo. So for me, he's done all the right things. He played really well. It'd be unfortunate to miss out. So if he's fit, he's definitely in contention.
Okay, and Danny, before we carry on the North London derby subject, I understand you've got a score update for us?
Yeah, 26 minutes, Arsenal 0, Lincoln Ladies 0, and it's at Arsenal, not at Lincoln, so there's probably plenty of people there. And Chelsea Ladies are losing 3-0 to Bristol. But in the under-21s, Sanogo is playing, and it's 20 minutes in, and France are 3-0 up, and he hasn't scored any of them, which is pretty good. And the England under-21s are 1-0 up with a West Brom young bloke who was at Peterborough last season scoring the goal. And Spain under-21s are 3-1 up, if anyone cares about them. The cup-robbing bastards.
So we'll carry on with this then. And it's been well known that Tottenham have spent over 110 million this summer, and at the point of the North London derby, all we had in was 2 players on a free. I mean, what stood out for you guys as in the 2 difference in the team? Was it because the Arsenal had gelled together as a unit, or I mean, what would you say it was, Gav?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, out of all the Tottenham players that they signed, the only one that really stood out for me was that fucking how I'm gonna pronounce him, Capu. Capu. And it was funny the fact that the smallest player on our pitch was the one that ended up taking him out. I thought he was quite impressive. Out of all the Tottenham signings, I thought he was the only one that he looked good on the ball. He looked comfortable. He's a tall fellow. He's got a good touch. He knows how to put a tackle in, and I was quite relieved when he went off the pitch, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, like I mean, they've had these players in for a while, and they haven't bought, they didn't buy them all the week before. They've had a time, and yeah, maybe they'll get better as the season go and they'll gel and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's bought that well with the money he's spent. To be honest with you,
I think
like I say,
they
out
spent.
of all, I mean, I look, like I say, you look at I looked at the Tottenham lineup, as soon as it was released, and I thought to myself, we can beat these. There's nobody on there. Look, I looked at and I thought it was particularly scary. I mean, Danny fucking Rose, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Any team that's got him in the first 11, you're gonna fucking beat them, aren't you? I mean,
We'll all.
do you know what I mean? I just looked. The minute I saw the Tottenham lineup, I just weren't worried. I just thought this is not a team that's going to be capable of beating even us when we was, completely injury ravaged.
I mean, who was it? Paulinho never looked up for the game. I mean, Danny Rose. Well, we all remember Danny Rose for that fluky fucking goal that he scored against us about 3 years ago. And as for me, Soldado, he never really got on into the game. For me, I mean, he looked like he was out of options after about 20 minutes. I mean, Andrew, what do you think the difference was between the two teams?
I think, maybe. I think, as Gav said, Capoue was for me certainly Spurs' best player. But I think the difference really came down to kind of the margins in their final third and our final third. So I think defensively we were much stronger than what they were. But I think also, as I said before, in terms of when we kind of counter-attacked like the old Arsenal did. So as a kind of, if you look at Rosicky, he played more passes than Dembele, more through balls than Dembele. You look at Kaffour and he played, twice as many effective passes as Paulinho. And then even Giroud, he took twice as many shots as Soldado. And, he really held the ball up well. Kind of the Giroud of old might have got the ball in space and just run at defenders and, made silly dribbles. Whereas now he's holding the ball up. He's marshalling that final third. He's using his strength and he's allowing players like Walcott, Rosicky, Kaffour to come into the game. So we look a much more effective team in the final third. And I think Spurs ultimately, for all of the bruises they had in midfield, I think, all of their midfielders looked like they could, easily bench 120 kg. They're all big boys. But they lacked that creativity in the final third, which we have in abundance. And I think bringing in Ozil is only going to help us in kind of unlocking teams. And, I think we were certainly good for the 3 points.
Definitely. And FK, is there anything that you want to add to anything that's been said tonight before we move on to the next segment of the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite simple. I mean, you cannot underestimate the benefit of having a team that knows how each other plays and that has kind of gelled together. And we had that advantage on them. And actually, if anything, if we're being completely honest, maybe we're a bit fortunate that we've played Spurs so early on in the season and at home. The fact that our play and our boys, they know what it's like to be in a North London derby. I don't know how many of the Spurs lot had actually played more than 1 or 2 North London derbies themselves. So we've got that experience. With regards to their purchases, I think they've made some good purchases. I can't sit here and say that. I wouldn't have taken a couple of them. I mean, Paulinho looks a real powerhouse midfield, but like Andrew says, what they had in size, strength, and powerhouses, I suppose we had in agility, nimble, technical kind of gifted footballers. So I think it was a contrast of two styles. I agree with what's been said about Soldado. I mean, he could be out there now still looking for a goal and he wouldn't be getting any luck. And as a unit, we were very good. We kept our positional discipline. We defended well as a team right from top to bottom. And right at the end, even like sort of 88th minute, 89th minute, you saw Giroud sliding in tackles at the halfway point. You can tell that Arsene has made it clear to them, and the fans, obviously, they know how important it is to win the derby. And the bottom line is, North London derby, beat the enemy. Nothing else matters. We've done that. Job done. Thank you and good night.
And Danny?
Yeah, I just put a little, because I've started doing this new thing as we record the show. I just talk about it on Twitter. Just a few little things people have put. I said anybody want to mention anything about the game? At Wrongfoot Pele put, the home fans were fantastic for the NLD. And I think, yeah, they were. They were absolutely amazing for the entire game. It almost reminded me from sitting at home with it very, very loud on the telly, the old days of Highbury. And that is a beautiful thing to see and hear. Do you lot agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Did anyone know? Was anyone of you lot there?
Yeah.
Was it very, very loud compared to a lot of games that they have been recently?
Oh, it was buzz. It was rocking, absolutely rocking. From the moment the players come out onto the pitch, everyone was up for it. It's North London derby, Spurs have come to town. It's just the best game, and it was just absolutely, euphoric at the end when the final whistle went. People hugging each other. That's the beauty of football. It just brings so many people together, and we were just lapping it up. Amazing.
I mean, we're all
Lovely.
aware of how good our away fans are, but it's nice to see the home fans actually follow on from them and really make the Emirates a party atmosphere.
I've got another quick one here. At Gypsy_tits. What a name. He says,
Gav, any relation?
I'll have to see what kind of horse he's got. I'll be able to tell from that.
He looks like a cheeky sausage in his picture. I said, anyone want to make any points? He's put, we're great and they're shit. Good 2 points there for you. Another one at Banana Blitzer, but it was great to see Adebayor. What was he doing? One of the concession stands or something?
It must have been.
Because has he even been given a squad number?
No idea.
Oh, someone else has made a good point. At Swales 1968, but did you notice how Chesney stayed on his line for crosses, etc., and let the defence deal with them? That's a good point. Yeah, I noticed that he wasn't doing his usual Jerry Payton running out, flappy out, trying to windmill people out of the way.
I didn't notice that, to be honest, but what I did notice, when we scored, he went absolutely mental. When Giroud scored, because I sit North Bank lower, so right behind the goal, and when we were all celebrating, Chesney was running, clenched fists up in the air, jumping, sliding around. It means a lot to him, and that's precisely the point that I was saying before about how it means so much to our boys. But yeah, he had a good game, and he made a really good save as well when he kind of knocked it onto the post. I don't know if you guys would agree.
Yeah,
that
he's
really finding his form now, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he made a few good saves. I thought he had a good game.
Yeah.
Apparently, he done the old heart shape at the end of the game as well. The old Gareth Bale heart shape.
I tell you, did you see that thing he put on his Facebook account of him playing the piano?
Yeah.
And it was a great thing that was going around Twitter this week. For anyone that's not seen it yet, Google it. But he's playing the piano, and it's we won the league. It's just absolutely brilliant. Good laugh.
Yeah, if you remember a couple of years back on the 5-2, there was actually a lot of pictures doing the rounds on Twitter of him hugging the ball boy. He was that happy. So, he's an Arsenal man. I can't remember who it was. It might have been you, Gav. Someone said that they went to the boxing and he got up in the middle of the ring and he said something derisory about Tottenham, didn't he?
Yeah, no, it's a Islington Boxing Club. They've done about 2 or 3 do's at the Emirates in the Royal Oak Suite, and the very first one they had basically Chesney come along. Wiltshire was supposed to come along as well, but it was just after that kid that he knew that died. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Anyway, blah blah. So he had a funeral that day and he didn't come. Anyway, he was just absolutely brilliant, Chesney. He grabbed hold of the mic, jumped up into the middle of the ring, and started singing "We Hate Tottenham," and it was just brilliant. I mean, he was, for him turning up for a charity do. You just saw him sitting there and he's signing autographs all night long and entered into the spirit of things and everything. And like I say, jumped up in the ring and everything. But you just get the feeling, because he's been at Arsenal so long and because he's been around the younger English players, you just know he hates Tottenham as much as we do now.
Completely.
And Danny, if there's anything else on Twitter before we move on?
Some people have made some other good points. At AFC_world put, whether the game would have gone on much differently if Flamini hadn't have come on for Wilshere after 40 minutes. That's a good point. I think if Wilshere would have stayed on, he was quite anonymous during the game, like he has been more often than not lately. And I think that extra bit of steel in midfield, that not that Jack's ever afraid to go in for a tackle, but every time Jack's playing, I'm thinking he's either going to get sent off or injured. But with Flamini, I was just thinking, go on and get in there, kick someone as soon as possible, do a Hillier on them, let them know you're there. And he did. Yes, I'm not sure we would have gone on to be so solid in midfield.
Yeah, I agree. I think Flamini's got discipline about his game, his positioning, and obviously his tackling. Whereas Jack, I think, even though he's a tremendous player, but I think he's a little bit lost in terms of knowing what his position is. He goes drifting, he attacks, he doesn't really track back that often. I think Arsenal's still trying to find out what his best position is, and that's obviously not working for him. But Flamini, when he came in, his discipline was brilliant, absolutely superb.
There's one
Okay,
thing
then.
that really pissed me off first. Sorry, Dino, I was going to say, every time, I don't know if you guys noticed the same, but every time I looked up AVB, he just seemed to be constantly out of his technical box, didn't he?
I noticed
Oh
that
god, he's
towards
done
the
that a
end.
couple of times,
Actually,
didn't he?
he went
Yeah.
down towards the player taking the throw in
Yeah.
in stoppage time, didn't he? I was shouting at the television. Well, I won't tell you what I was shouting because this is a family show. But yeah, it wasn't very nice. I can't believe he didn't get pulled up for that, or at least carded
Yeah.
for being out of his technical area.
He was consistent throughout the game, mate, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll move on then from there. And as many of you know that listen to this show, we did a big segment of, well, as Danny called it, the Podathon on Monday, which was 12 or 13 podcasts, wasn't it, Danny?
It was a fucking nightmare, is what it was. So much so that iTunes have shut us down.
No, they haven't. They haven't shut us down. They're just being arseholes.
That's unlike iTunes. Bless you, iTunes, if you're listening. If you're not listening, you're a bunch of fucking arseholes.
Oh, I thought the C-bomb was going to slip out there. Dan.
Easy tie, go ink. Got Andrew here, lashing it, the C-bombs out like they're going out of fashion.
When is Watershed on this show? Is it from the 5th minute onwards, or is it after an hour? We just don't know.
Just no idea.
No idea. But next up, I'd like to touch on the transfer window and what the signing of Ozil or Ozil, whether you're Adrian Durham or someone normal, means to the fans. What did we miss out on, and did we fail to live up to expectations? I know we can get a bit of debate going on this, so we'll start with FK. And what did the transfer window and the signing of Ozil mean to you?
I thought it was a good transfer window. It could have been better if we'd have got an additional striker for the squad. But in terms of Ozil, I mean, one at a time. What an amazing player! And this is the player that we've been craving for so long. You know, all the keeping our powder dry and all that kind of stuff that's happened over the few years. To be able to go out and splash out £42.5 million on someone who is no doubt a truly world-class player, someone who's created, I'm sure Danny's got stats, but more assists than any other player in Europe for God knows how many years. He's 24. I hadn't realised he was that young. I thought he was maybe a little bit older. Proven international, done it at all levels, won all sorts of things in the game. I think he's just a smashing player. I've heard a lot of comments about Özil and people sort of saying, on the radio and on Twitter that we didn't need him, but I would beg to disagree, because I think one of our strengths last season was actually our defensive performance. We had the second best defensive record in the league, and people say that we needed to bring in a defender and a goalkeeper and a DM and all that kind of stuff. And I think Flamini's, as we've just kind of discussed anyway, he's going to be fine for that. But where I thought we had difficulty last year was in the tighter games, in the bigger games against the sort of the big three, big four clubs in the Premier League, in certain games that we maybe drew 0-0, 1-1s, and we didn't really create much up top. And I think he gives us that. He gives us that goal threat. He gives us, he's going to score goals. He's going to get assists. So from my point of view, absolutely over the moon that we've managed to get someone of such caliber, such quality. Yeah, I don't know how. Maybe you should take it one at a time. Don't know how you guys feel about Ozil.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was listening to Sky Sports Radio in between the podcasts that we did on Monday, and they had that crackhead on there, Danny Murphy. Well, I say crackhead, he looks like a crackhead, but he was actually saying that Man United and Arsenal had made the wrong signings, and that Ozil should have gone to United, and maybe we should have ended up with Fellaini. Would you agree with the crackhead, Gav, or is that something that you disagree with?
No, I mean, like I said on the podcast on the transfer window day, I was having a chat with one of this old Mancunian fella that we have a good bit of banter with and a good bit of decent debate, and we kind of come to that agreement as well. Really, look, we needed more of a larger defensive midfield type player, and they needed more of an attacking midfielder. Somebody a bit of a playmaker. But to be fair, Fellaini for the last couple of seasons for Everton has been playing in more of an attacking role than he has a defensive role anyway. Okay, I mean, a lot of his goals he's scored have been with his head. He's very handy at defending corners because obviously his size and everything. But I think Wenger's, it's a good signing. And the only reason it is a good signing is because, fingers crossed, Flamini's going to come in and do the business in front of the back four. And going back to something that was hinted at with regards to when we were talking about the North London derby, I would actually start Flamini now. He would probably be one of the first players that I'd actually have on the team sheet. Stick in front of the back four. He's organising the squad, organising the team, and if we've got three solid defensive type players on the pitch, it gives everybody else a chance to be creative. And that's what we want Mr. O to do. We want Mr. O to come on. Obviously, Wenger's chatted him up, and we've got him, and he's a very, very, very good signing. It's probably one of the most exciting signings we've had since Dennis Bergkamp. But Wenger's obviously promised him that he's going to have the number 10 role. He's going to be the playmaker of the team. The reason why he wanted to leave Real Madrid in the first place is because he wasn't guaranteed that position anymore. And they wanted him to fill in, on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, and blah blah blah. And he doesn't want that. He knows the player himself knows where he wants to play, and he knows what his best position is. And obviously, Wenger's promised him that position. The side effect from that really is the fact that Santi is going to probably be shifted out to the left until at least Podolski's match fit. So I'm not sure that in one respect we'll probably get a little bit less out of Santi, but hopefully we'll get more out of Mr. O.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have said that Ozil's going to come in, and because we didn't sign a striker, he's the next best thing to a striker with the assists and hopefully the goals that he's going to provide for the team. Danny, can you see him coming in and doing a sterling job? I mean, do you think he's going to hit the ground running for us?
Well, I certainly do, because the last 5 seasons he's played, 3 at Real Madrid and 2 at Werder Bremen. Every season he's scored 20 plus assists. Did he score an assist? Got 20 plus assists. I mean, at Real, I'll give you a few stats. Last season at Real, and plus he's never injured. At Real Madrid last season, 52 games, 10 goals, 23 assists. Then the season before that, 52, 7 and 24 assists. Season before that, 53, 10 goals, 26 assists. So for Real Madrid, he's averaging about 8 or 9 goals a season and getting about 24, 25 assists. And then Werder Bremen, they're no massive team in the Bundesliga, as in shaking it up, because it's all been Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich for the last few years. But his last season there, 44 games, 9 goals, 21 assists. So that means he must have been about 19 when he did that. And the season before that, 47 games, 5 goals, 20 assists again. That was in 2008-9. So if that was 5 years ago, that means he was 17-18 that season. And in the top class, one of the best leagues in the world, to get 20 assists is just amazing. But I'm sure it's FK that was saying, I'm not sure if it is on air or off air, that with him playing behind Giroud, that means everybody else can move around a little bit. Like Theo can maybe come up front a little bit, and then we can have Santi playing out wide left or right, and then we've got when Podolski comes back, he can go left. So we've got so many players that can all get at least 10 goals a season that I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. And I just hope he gets used in the old Bergkamp way, because I remember my favourite ever season was the 97-98 season. In that season, first half of the season was Ian Wright and Dennis Bergkamp. Then Wright got injured, and they were averaging a goal a game between them. And then when Ian Wright got injured, Anelka come in, and Bergkamp supplied the same stuff to him, and we all know how that season finished. We won the bloody double, and so I just hope it's going to be like that again.
Danny, you're absolutely spot on, but there are so many things about this Ozil signing, and obviously from a football side of view, Gav, I think maybe Santi and him will, there'll be a lot of unpredictability about them, because they'll switch in and out with each other and confuse the opponent. I think the message that it sends across to teams, not only in the Premier League but across Europe, that Arsenal have managed to pull off such an amazing signing, and at the end of the day, Ozil's not going to leave the biggest and best club in the world to join Arsenal had he not been convinced of a project or a plan. I think his father spoke of it on Arsenal.com recently about Arsene convincing him with his plans for this season and the future. And, for him to really believe in that project and to come over, I think says a lot about our future, and that we're in good hands. And also the fear factor. Any team now coming to the Emirates, if they see the likes of Cazorla and Wilshere and Co and Walcott with his electric pace, and then they see Özil walking out onto the pitch, I mean, you psychologically, it's such a good thing to have.
I mean, they're going to have to sit back deep, aren't they? That's the thing. If you was lining up a team against the Arsenal at the moment, and the way that Mr. O spreads the ball about, and with Walcott's pace, you would have thought that the teams are going to sit back a bit deeper, and hopefully, we'll get more space just from the fear, as you said, just from the fear factor.
I think so, yeah, and I mean he's certainly got that killer ball, that ball that can unlock tight defences, and you get a lot of teams that will come over and park the bus at the Emirates, and he's just going to help unlock that. And I think they'll move around. He'll switch to the right, to the left, and Cazorla will do the same. I think what's more important is that the two that are behind our front three, behind Giroud, if you know what I mean, so the Ramsey or the Arteta or the Flamini, they need to keep their positional discipline. They can't just go wandering forward, get involved because it all looks great, because all of a sudden then we get caught on the counter. So if we can keep those middle two really nice, tight and disciplined, then the front three plus Giroud can do what they want, and they're going to score goals all day long.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that has stuck out for me over the Ozil transfer has been the quotes coming from Madrid and mostly their players. I mean, I'll give you a few now. I've not got anything to hand, but this is just off the top of my head. You got Arbeloa, who said that he was actually stunned at him leaving, and he thought that Ozil was having a laugh when he was saying goodbye to him. You got Sami Khedira, who's also turned around and said that he's left a big gap at Real Madrid, and possibly the one that I think people would want to hear about the most. The quote's coming from Ronaldo today, that he actually said that Ozil was the only player that he's ever played with that knows what balls to play and where to play them that suit Ronaldo's game best. I mean, those are some amazing quotes, Andrew. Just from that, does that gauge what kind of a player we're getting here?
It does, yeah, and I think another quote, and obviously it's not a footballer this time, but to quote, I think it was Winston Churchill, right? He said something like, "Now this is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end, but it's perhaps the end of the beginning." And I think the signing of Ozil, kind of similar to the signing of Bergkamp back in the day, it really shows that Arsenal are back in business, and it's not just about on the field. Obviously we've gone and we've trebled or to a multiple of 3, smashed our transfer record. But now players like Gustavo and Gustavo's agent, perhaps he's not going to feel so homesick next time Wolfsburg come in for him. And I think that's really going to resonate around the football world, that Arsenal have now kind of moved out of that transition period. And I think even Gazidis, he was desperate, really desperate this summer to sign a world-class player, to kind of really showcase that his kind of strategies worked over the last 8 years or so. Or not just his strategy, but the strategy of the club's worked. And I think it really shows that we're no longer this kind of selling club. Obviously I think Bayern Munich and Barcelona were quite keen on Koscielny, and obviously Atletico were keen on Cazorla. And I think the kind of the symbolism of signing this this huge player just shows to the world that Arsenal Football Club we're still right up there, and hopefully we can keep adding to that year on year, I hope.
And the impact it's had on the supporters. I mean, everyone this week, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Facebook, everyone's been talking about it. I've been to work, and I'm surrounded by United fans, obviously being based in London, and they all compliment us with such envy. And I love that. I absolutely love the fact that people are talking about Arsenal who have gone out and bought a top-class player. So, the fans feel so good. The players must feel awesome, and I'm sure Arsenal's smiling like he always does.
No, definitely. Also, it did impact on one of the transfers that was going to come in this week, since this is the transfer segment, when it looked like Demba Ba was all done and dusted, until Mourinho came out and he found out that Ozil was actually going to be joining us. He pulled the plug on the deal. He then later came out the next day and he said that, and I quote on this, "Ozil is the best number 10 in the world." I mean, Gav, that says what we're getting. That is someone that is just going to do such a fantastic job. It's almost like adding 2 players to the team.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ever knock what the special in his own fucking head, has got to say. To be honest with you, I mean, he is a world class manager. I mean, he's one of the top 3 managers in the world without a shadow of a doubt. And he's played. He's had the player for a couple of years, and so he knows exactly what he can do. With regards to the Demba Ba thing, I mean, I think we was absolutely pathetic and absolutely shooting well below our standards in actually trying to get another loan player off Chelsea. It was definitely a last resort. Demba Ba. I mean, like I say, the only thing that worries me and bothers me about the whole of the transfer window is, and I'm trying to look on the bright side. If we're looking on the bright side, look, Wenger's always had Mr. O as being one of his targets and always wanted him. But he's also chased after every single striker that's been up for sale, and a few that haven't been up for sale. And he's missed on all of them. So it's a little bit disappointing. And like I say, it's all a little bit bittersweet, really, because we could have gone from thinking, we've got a world-class player, hopefully will challenge, to if we'd got a world-class striker as well, we'd all be shouting the fact that, there's possibilities of, of actually winning the title and actually challenging this year. So we're still a couple of players short. Flamini might turn into a masterstroke, but the thing that bothers me is it just seemed from the beginning of the summer that Wenger's top targets were all strikers, and we end up getting let down by Denver Bar and by Chelsea. And
Yeah.
it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, when you actually look at the money that's been spent and the money that we have spent, we haven't spent that much money. I know we touched on this on the transfer deadline day podcast, but we've got £30 million extra TV money this year. We've sold players this year for 12 million. We've freed up, even if you include the incoming players' wages, probably another £200,000 a week in wages. So if you add all that together, we really have not spent any money at all this summer, which is good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want us going around wasting money on fucking people like Torres and shit like that. But it's just the fact, look, we could have done just that little bit better. That a world-class striker coming in as well would have made all the difference. And I wrote a blog on it this week. The fact that as the team lines up at the moment, and with the injuries that we've got to Podolski and the Ox, if anything happens to Giroud, we're pretty much playing a 4-6-0 type formation, and that's my worry, and that's where I think the transfer window went a bit wrong. That we have not got any suitable backup for Giroud.
I've heard many theories on the Ozil transfer this week, and the way I best get my head around it is that all the while Gareth Bale was going to Real Madrid, and Spurs kept dangling and hanging them along, while all the while Real Madrid behind Spurs' back were talking to us, going, "Oh yeah, when we get Bale, you can have Ozil." And all the while, Spurs were holding that up, and in the end, they lost Gareth Bale, and their main rivals got in someone who is world class. I mean, a lot of the fans in Madrid are saying, "Well, how come you've bought in Gareth Bale and you've let go a player that in their eyes is actually better?" I mean, what's up with that, Danny?
That's a weird thing indeed. It's the actual reason. If John was here, he would explain it. It's when in Spanish football you have presidents of Barcelona and most of the other teams, and they're up for re-election every few years. And when I think I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think it's Jean Laporta is the president of Barcelona, and the Barcelona and Real Madrid are both after Neymar. And when Barcelona signed him, the Real Madrid fans were really, really angry with the current bloke, because they had one of the ex-presidents on Talk Sport 2 or 3 times explaining the situation over there, and he said, "Don't worry, he has said he is going to go out and make a signing that is bigger and better than Neymar." So that's what he's done financially, but he hasn't done it player-wise, because although he scored all those goals in the Premier League last season, and he made those dirty twats in N17 a one-man team, which is showed now because they're doing bugger all apart from getting dodgy penalties. That's why they did it. It's permanently a game of one-upmanship in La Liga between Barcelona and Real Madrid, and that's all they ever do to each other.
It was mentioned on the Gooner Girls podcast because they had, I don't know whether to say his name, Adrian Durham. There you go. They had Adrian Durham on their podcast last night, and he said that it was in Spain, it's all about marketability of a player. So even something down to as tiny as a haircut, and Gareth Bale possibly being more marketable than Ozil, and that being the line that Real Madrid have gone down. Maybe it's to make money rather than win things.
I'm going to say something a bit shocking here about a good old Mr. Durham, who's a fellow Peterborough United fan. If anybody has listened to Talk Sport long enough, you might remember the days when he did, from 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock weekdays, football first in Europe for one of those days, where he'd have the likes of Gabriele Marcotti and I can't remember Philippe Auclair and all those other people. And that was, by a country mile, the greatest football radio show that this universe has ever seen. So what he does now isn't very nice, because it's just there to make people ring up at 10p a minute and 50p a text. But if anybody doubts the kind of how much he knows his football and his passion for football, just try and dig out an old Football First in Europe, and those shows were absolutely brilliant. But he's just playing the devil's advocate the whole time and getting Gooners to ring up with his silly little the Arsenal thing. Can I make a thing about a point about the German players at the club now?
Yeah, go on. Just
Yeah.
before we move on from Adrian Durham, can I just say I've got one thing to say?
Yes.
Scruffy ginger cunt. Go.
Yeah, GFP. If people don't know, that means German flower pot, because that's what people refer to my cars as German flower pots. That's where my name comes from. And I've always said there's 3 players I wanted at Arsenal: Mertesacker, Podolski, and Schweinsteiger. And I never thought the day would come where they would all be at my club at the same time. The 2 of them would be there. And do you know, at the moment we have got Lucas Podolski is the 3rd highest capped German player of all time. And he's the 4th highest German goal scorer. And he's 111 games for Germany per Mertesacker, 91 games for Germany, and he's the 14th highest capped player. So I reckon that Mo, that's what I'm going to call him, Mo, one of the reasons why he came here is because you've got 2. I mean, try and think of 2 English players that have the stature and of the number of caps that Mertesacker and Podolski have. You can't think of any, really, can you? Apart from maybe a Lineker, a Shearer. That's the kind of bracket. Maybe not in goals-wise, but in caps and how much they're loved in Germany. And plus, we've got 4 young Germans at the club. We've got Gnabry, we've got Eisfeld, Seaman, and some bloke called Zelalem.
No.
You tit.
Oh, no, it's normally...
That's it.
No.
No. Yeah, so we've got 7 Germans at the club now, and being a German flower pot, that makes me immensely happy, and I would just like to see a few more come to the club. So if Schweinsteiger, if you're listening, then feel free to come to the club. And our good mate, who always comes up with crackers on Twitter, at T50Red, which is cheeky tone, has put, will we be able to get Bratwurst, oh for fuck's sake, at the ground in honour of our German first team trio? See, I was thinking of the Brahurst, the Australian touring car thingy. That's where I fucked it. Oh, whatever it is. I don't like the sound of it.
But you should also mention, Danny, that hasn't Ozil got over 50 caps for Germany himself?
47 caps, 14 goals. Which is...
I knew it was around the 50 mark. I know when I looked up at it was for a player of his age to have that many caps for a national team is immense.
I'm just looking now because you've made me wonder. I think it was 47 and 47 games, 14 goals. If it isn't, then I'm going to go. I'm not looking at Wikipedia as we speak at all. What number is he? Number 11. Oh, what a beautiful number. That's like 2 little ones next to each other. 47 games, 14 goals, eh? Hey! Oh, it's all in there somewhere.
You're a fucking genius. A fucking genius.
What was it? Someone said when we started this up like 3 months ago, someone said, oh yeah, great lineup, just ditch that tosser that always looks at Wikipedia. He's gone quiet.
It's about the first time for anything.
Oh, where's he gone?
He's crying. Someone called him a tosser.
Oh, the child's in here shouting and screaming there's a spider by the front door when we're both too scared to get... Can anyone come and save us? If anyone's in the PE29 area, come and get us.
Get FK to sweet talk it away.
Colin's gone to bed, so he ain't going to come and get it. We're just trying to decide what to do. You carry on, Gimli, while we get eaten by spiders.
Do you guys... I was just going to ask you, did you guys think now, obviously it was disappointing missing out on a striker, and but do you not think now that we've got Ozil, it's going to make it much easier to try and convince the top strikers to kind of come to Arsenal?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, it's going to, obviously, because everyone's going to want to play in front of him, and it's going to make them a better player. The problem is we'll possibly have to wait until after the World Cup before players come available, because the sort of class that we're looking to buy, and we should be looking to buy, are not going to be available in January unless somebody has a major falling out with their manager. And the only one I can see that happening is either Torres at Chelsea, who I would really hate if we paid decent money for him, and Rooney, and I don't think Rooney's really the number 9 we're looking for, really. And obviously then we've got Suarez as well, but like I say, the major problem really is, we've run out of time. We searched and we tried apparently to buy all these players, and we failed on all of them, and I don't think we're going to get another chance. So I think anybody that we're getting in January, like I say, unless there's someone has a major falling out, is literally going to be a bit part player who's we're going to keep for 2 years and we'll end up a bit of deadwood. That's the problem we've got at the moment.
Unless, Gav, you go down like what we said on the deadline pod, you go down to like the next level. I think there's no doubt that the club was trying to get those kind of like, you know, class A kind of players that we talked about, Suarez, Rooney, all the bids were made public, etc., etc. I think we'll go back in for them in January, particularly if Liverpool drop down the table and Suarez is looking to move. But then you've got the whole cup tide issue of Europe and domestic cups and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's not been ideal. We should have maybe got a striker, but if we get to January, and that's the way I look at it, right? I mean, the transfer window that's ended, we're only, you know, we brought in Ozil and Flamini and Sonogo and Viviano, but that's enough to basically get us through till end of December. And then in January, we go out and get a striker. And if we can't get one of those top tier ones, I think the club's got to look at maybe that next tier down. So, the likes of Benteke, the likes of, I don't know who else is kind of out there. You know, just slap down 25, 30 million pounds, you'd get him. And to be honest with you, Benteke, in the form that he's in, if he was in front of Cazorla, Walcott and Ozil, he is going to score goals all day long. So that's an option. But I think going back to your point, Andrew, the fact that we've brought in such a marquee signing like Özil, I think the world stops, looks and listens and thinks, right, sure, Arsenal mean business, and it's going to help us attract that next class of player. So hopefully you're right, mate. I completely agree with Gav. I think in an ideal world we would have brought in another striker to either partner, to support, to replace Giroud. Because I think we're a little bit light in that sense. Defensively, I think we've done well. I think, you know, we build on the fact that we've got the second best defensive record last season. We build on the fact that we've got the most number of points in 2013. And we build on the fact that since the last North London derby, we've played 16 games, won 13, drawn 2 and lost 1. And that one was against Villa. And we all know that 2 pens and a red card is difficult for any team. So there's a lot to be happy about. But I would say that an ideal transfer window would have seen a striker coming as well.
Did I hear that referee from the Villa game has now been demoted and won't be doing any more Premier League games?
I don't know about that. I mean, I heard he was. I don't know if he's relegated to 4th official for the week after the Villa game. He wasn't reffing. I haven't heard anything about Anthony Taylor being demoted to a lower league or anything. So, but you know these things happen. I think Jeff was the first one to say it after the first game. It's a freak result. We could have had Rooney and Suarez playing up front that day and we still would have conceded those goals because the decisions were quite controversial. And you know, once you're down to 10,
shit.
Well, there you go, mate. I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, you know, you can't fight that, and these things happen. But like I said, look at the last 16 games. Look at the number of points we've compiled in 2013. No other team is in better form than us this year. We've now got to take that into a league season and see how we go until the end of December. Arsenal's clearly got the money. He's got the pulling power, which a lot of people doubted that he had. You know, I've seen a lot of comments about Arsene can't attract the top players. Well, he shut all of those lot up because he's just gone and brought one of the best players in the world, and he said in his interview that, you know, it just took one phone call from Arsene Wenger. So there you go. I mean, let's just see what happens, and I think it'll be quite interesting in January. We might bring in 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think for me there was a. Oh, sorry, Kim. I was going to say, sorry. For me, obviously, there was a lot of talk about bringing in Rooney because he's this injured animal and he has a point to prove. But I think we actually already have that in Podolski, and I think with it being a World Cup year, and obviously Podolski's going to have been a little bit on the periphery of the German side in the last year, and I know he's had a few snipes of Bierhoff. So I think, you know, if he comes back and he's, you know, really seriously motivated about getting into the German team for the German national team for the World Cup ahead, I think we could see a big season from him, and he could really be pushing Ollie G for the goal scoring tally.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And I think too many people have written off young Yaya Sanogo as well. I mean, you know, people have got to give these players a chance. I mean, there's a lot of people that I've seen that are saying he's not good enough, he shouldn't be anywhere near the first team. But you know, the boy's young. You know, the boys, he might have potential. A lot of people wrote off Ramsey. A lot of people wrote off so many other players. You've got to at least give him the decency of 6 months. Do you know what I mean? Like, let him at least have a few games. Give him a few Carling Cup games. Give him Capital One Cup, whatever it's called. Give him a few, you know, sort of 20-minute, 30-minute appearances once we're 2 or 3 up in a game. Let him come on and give it a go. And you never know. He might be a revelation.
I think you have to look at his stats. I mean, you look at Sonogo for the French under-16s, 18 goals in 18 games. And at the end of last season for Auxerre, 10 goals in 13 games. Admittedly, I think he got 4 in a game. But you got a good point there, Kim. Just let FK, just let him play all of the League Cup games, a couple of the early FA Cup games, and come on as sub in a few Premier League games. Give him 6 months before people write him off.
That's the thing, Danny. I mean, we've got no choice but to play him.
Yeah, that's true.
Until Podolski's fit. Yeah, I mean, Podolski and Chamberlain, I mean, it's such a shame that they're out at the moment. Because, I mean, they give an alternative. And you look, you know, again, I mentioned this on another previous pod, blah blah blah. But it's the fact that you looked at the bench against Tottenham, and we had nobody on there that was a game changer. We had nobody on there that could, change the shape of our attacking lineup, and that's why we ended up with, 6 defenders on the pitch,
Yep.
plus a defensive midfielder, and that's the problem we've got at the moment. The problem we've got is, we didn't have, and it's just frustrating. It's frustrating that we haven't got a plan B if anything happens to Giroud until the Chamberlain and Podolski are fully fit, and that's probably where we're going to come a little bit unstuck, because we are, heaven forbid, and Giroud's got a really really good injury record. He's hardly ever injured. Touch wood. He's looking fitter and sharper than he's ever done. The ground he covered against Tottenham was amazing, but you can't expect him once the the League Cup games coming in, and once the Champions League games coming in. You can't expect him to be on form for 2 games week in week out over the space of a couple of months. So that's where really we're unfortunately going to come a little bit unstuck at the moment.
But what about the? I was going to say, just what about the world class striker we brought in on deadline day, Nicholas Bentner? Shouldn't he give a little bit more freedom to Sonogo?
He can fuck off. I never want to see that cunt in a fucking Arsenal shirt for as long as I live.
Before we move on to the last bit of the podcast, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about, a lot of people have coined the phrase about Ozil this week that it was Arsene Wenger's Dennis Bergkamp moment. I know Bruce Rioch has come out today and said that wasn't the case, but surely you can see when a player of Ozil's class come in, like of the Bergkamp days, that big names will follow. I mean, FK, do you agree with that?
Completely. 100% truth in that statement. I think the moment a club take the opportunity to sign someone like Mesut Özil means that everyone kind of stops and takes notice. And you only have to look at the way that Real Madrid players, personnel and fans have reacted this week by him leaving. They know that they've lost a truly great player, and we know that we've gained a truly great player. So any potential signings, I mean, if you're a striker, it's a striker's dream. You're going to want to play in front of Santi and Jack and and Mesut, and obviously in terms of, it just puts us on the map again. We're challenging again, but you can't go back to the fact that, if only we bought a striker just to kind of like reinforce the squad, maybe we'd be even stronger in January. But I think we're going to attract big names now, and obviously the money's there, the infrastructure's there, and Arsene knows how to spend it. So let's go.
Breaking news, everybody! Big Colin from next door's come in to get the spider.
Oh my God, you are such a fucking woman.
Fucking
they kill.
Oh, shut up!
Have you got it, Cole? Colin's got it. All praise Colin. Hey!
Right, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your input on the transfers and the transfer window. The back straight of the podcast sees us evaluate how we think the season is going to go. Now, understandably, I know that there's going to be, injuries this season, and I know there's going to be a lot of unforeseen things that we can't look into before we kick this off. But Gav, what's your, hopes for the season with Mesut Özil?
Well, I mean, obviously hope he stays fit and he fulfills his potential. With regards to what we're going to do, I don't think we're going to do a great deal better than we did last year, to be honest with you. I think the only saving grace we've got at the moment is that Man United are probably looking quite weak at the moment, so I can't really see them challenging. Top 2 I can see being Chelsea and Man City. Hopefully we can challenge Man United for 3rd place, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can put in a good cup run. Really, I think that's the key to this season. Really, we've got to do well in the cups, and that's starting with the West Brom away. We've got to do well in the League Cup. I hope Wenger doesn't put a completely shitty weaky team out for that, because that to me is a bit of a disgrace to the away supporters when he does that. But like I say, I think the only chance we've got of silverware is in the domestic cups this year, and I hope for once Wenger sort of sees that, and he really does sort of go for it.
Definitely. Danny, what are your hopes for the season?
Well, looking at the league table, you're going to say that I don't remember a season where you've had so much turmoil at the top and so many teams that are dire. I don't care how many players Crystal Palace get, they're still shit. Good luck to them. I hope they stay up, because I've always had a little soft spot for Palace, who used to love Mark Bright and Ian Wright.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah, okay, all that. Hull, they're dog shit. They're going to go down. West Brom have spent fuck all money. Fulham, they've strengthened a little bit, and you got Swansea. It's debatable
Cardiff.
whether they're going to do too much. I think Cardiff are going to do all right. They're going to stay up.
Nah, Cardiff are gone, mate. Cardiff is 20 miles down the road. Fuck them. Fuck a lot of them. They're going down.
Newcastle are unbelievably shit. They have got ever since not Sam Kinnear, is it? Joe Kinnear. Joker has come in. He's fucked that club royally. And who's their manager, Gav?
Fucking Pardew. He's a cunt as well.
I think so. You got a handful of 5 or 6 teams
Wanker.
that are all shit that need to go down. Like Gav was just saying, Man United are going to do fuck all because they don't trust Moyes with the money. I mean, when was they said that some journalist said this is funny that Everton have had their best transfer window in a decade and Man United have had their worst transfer window in a decade. Well, what does that tell you? They don't trust him with the money. So I think Man City have gotten Pellegrini. As much as I love him and he was brilliant for Malaga and the stuff he did there with the Champions League, he isn't going to do too much this season. It's going to be, I mean, Liverpool are the surprise outing so far, but I think Liverpool, Man City, Man United, us, and maybe that lot from down the road are all going to be battling for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place, and Chelsea are going to walk this league and they're going to win it maybe by 10 or 15 points. And if we don't get the injuries, we've got a first 11 plus a couple of players to battle Chelsea all the way. But our luck with injuries. Come November, there's probably going to get the plague at Arsenal, and half our fucking first team, their legs are going to fall off. But if we stay fit, we've got a team good enough to win the league, but they ain't going to stay fit. Something's going to happen. But if he rebuilds in January and they see, like everyone's been saying, that we've bought the likes of Ozil, Little Mo, well, he's not actually Little Mo, is he? He's 6 foot tall. He's Big Mo. That's a sign. Then other people. Plus, we smashed the wage barrier, haven't we? I mean, Podolski and Theo are on roughly about 100 grand a week, and I think Ozil's come on at about. I was reading that it's 180, but it can't be 180.
I heard it was 140.
Bloody or whatever it is. We've shown that we've got the 2nd most expensive hit player in Premier League history behind Torres, and that was just because Chelsea are mental. So yeah, to sum it all up, I think if we strengthen in January, we can fight Chelsea for the title if we are a little bit more lucky with injuries.
And FK?
Well, I said at the start of pre-season that this was a summer of no excuse, basically. I mean, we kept the core of our squad together. We have loads of money, which was, without doubt, a fact. Arsene went out. He cleared a lot of the deadwood. He's obviously brought in players that he thinks would make us strong enough to compete. So there's no excuse now to go on and have a strong season and actually win something. My heart says we'll win the league, and hear me out on this madness. I think we build on the fact that we had the 2nd best defensive league last season. I know I keep harping on about it, but people conveniently forget that actually defensively we're a good team. I think Flamini coming in is just going to shore that up. He's a versatile player. He gives us cover at right back when Sanya needs to push in. I think defensively we're quite sound, and I'm happy with our goalkeeper. Scoring goals, we had a problem in the tighter games. We need to pick up more points against the big 3, big 4, the United, the City and the Chelseas. We didn't get as many points as we'd have liked last season, so Ozil's going to help us do that. My head says I think we might fall just short because of the reasons that Gav's kind of mentioned, that in an ideal world we would have had a much stronger squad, and ultimately, even if everybody's fit, the competition for places and the subsequent rest that people get when they're not selected is actually very, very welcome, and that's something we should have addressed. Cup run, the best teams don't always win the cups, as has been proven for year after year after year. And I would agree with Danny. I think on our day, our starting 11 can take anyone, and I mean that, anyone in the world. I mean, you've got such a good core of players there that I really think that, an FA Cup win this year would be a dream. What you define as success or failure, I don't know. But to be honest, I'd be happy with top. Let's improve on what we did last year. Let's get into the top 3. Let's win the FA Cup. Maybe have a strong run in the League Cup and Champions League. Let's go. Let's try and get as far as we can. I mean, the Champions League again is one of those things where you never really know what's going to happen. I mean, we didn't get beat by Bayern and they went and smashed Barca 7, so you just can't tell. But there was no excuse this summer. So even though he spent a lot of money and even though he's done a really good job, etc., I think we have to judge him in May, and he needs to win something. He really does.
I have to say, you sold it for me then, FK. I was just sat here listening to you talk, thinking, yeah, maybe we could do it.
Why
so well
not?
done on.
But why not?
I want what you're on, mate. Do you know what I mean?
No,
I really
honestly,
want it.
listen. The way I look at
Really
it, right?
do.
If we can get to December and we're in the sort of top 2 or 3, maybe within sort of 4 or 5 points, and you look at our next few fixtures, they're all so winnable. And then when the likes of Podolski and the Ox come back, if we go out in January, I know it's a big if, but if we go out in January and get 1 or 2, to add to the squad, we always come good in the second half of the season. And like you say, there's a lot of transition at the other clubs. We don't know how Pellegrini's going to do. We don't know how Mourinho's going to keep 9 attacking midfielders happy. He's got so many of the same types of player, and you can't imagine that Mata's going to be, happy being left out week in, week out in a World Cup year. You can barely get in the Spain squad now. And then you look at United, who, to be quite frank, have embarrassed themselves all summer. They had a car crash tour where they couldn't pick up many victories. I know they smashed Swansea, but they're probably still a League Cup hangover from last season. And Chelsea bottled it, got a draw, fair enough. And Liverpool, they offered nothing. I mean, they played a 40-year-old in midfield. They've got an aging defence. Honestly, I think United have got problems, and they'll slip out the top 2. So it's there for the taking. And you cannot underestimate the importance of having a squad that knows each other inside out. I really think we can expect great things from this team this year, and I sincerely hope to God that it's our year.
And finally, Andrew.
Yeah, and I think, obviously it's great to hear the enthusiasm from FK there. I think outside of Arsenal, like touching on Danny's points, I expect probably Southampton to have a much better season than last year, and Aston Villa. I think they've both strengthened, and a lot of their young players like Luke Shaw's looking really good this season. But I think obviously if you focus on us and what kind of the guys have mentioned before, I think we only picked up 2 points last year against the 3 teams above us. And what really kind of what I think, obviously we've strengthened significantly with the Ozil signing. I think that should really help us unlock some of those defences. I think against City at home we were poor. I think what he's going to bring to the team is that we're going to hold up the ball a lot more proficiently in the final third of the pitch. So I think if you look at Man United above us, obviously Moisey, I don't know what he's doing. Obviously there's stories this week that Van Persie's not happy. There's stories that players don't particularly like his kind of training methods. Hopefully there's going to be some fallout there. I think City, and their weakest bit of the pitch is that they haven't got any defensive cover, and I don't think that they've particularly strengthened, particularly when it comes to defensive cover there. So hopefully 1 or 2 injuries, and they could be suffering a little bit for all of their top attacking creativity. Chelsea,
it's funny you say that, Andrew. Actually, it's funny you say that. Their new signings just picked up a 6-week injury just today.
Really?
Did Michaelis? Yeah, he's out for 6 weeks, so that's a bit of a
of
bad
course,
fortune.
Yeah, and he's kind of in his late 30s now, anyways. And I think, and if you look at Chelsea again, hopefully. As I think you alluded to, FK, Matt has already kind of his nose is out a little bit. They've got quite a lot of position for very few places, and obviously Mourinho coming in, he's been there and he's done that with Chelsea before, but that was for the most part a completely separate bunch of players. So, he's almost starting afresh. And, I think as Danny mentioned, there's been so much change around us that with Arsenal having Arsene Wenger still in place, we're kind of that 1 year more established. We've brought in a world-class player. I really hope that we will go on and kind of push. I can't personally see us winning the league this year. I'd be amazed if it's not one of City or Chelsea. But I really think that we can give it a go. And as you mentioned, when it comes to the cup competitions, I really think we losing to Bradford this year is just not good enough. We need to have Jovino missing open goals. Obviously, players like that, they've gone now. We have to be putting out our strongest teams in all competitions, because players like Ozil, they represent a new era in the club for Arsenal. A new era in the history for Arsenal. It's kind of a new chapter. And, we've kind of changed our whole mentality. We're not this selling club now. We're a buying club. And one thing that would really get Arsene Wenger and the fans, behind this new strategy and this new era is just one trophy. And, fuck whether it's a Carling Cup or a Coca-Cola Cup or an FA Cup. Let's get one trophy behind us, and I think it will really, show world football that we're back. And I think that's all we need. And if we can deliver that, whether it's an FA Cup, a Carling Cup, the Emirates Cup, whatever, that's what we need. And, I really think we can push in those competitions this year.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What about you, Kim?
I'd like to think that we could get one of the cups, either FA Cup or League Cup. I honestly think that if we get a decent run going and the squad gels, I think there's no reason why we couldn't go on to that. As for the league, I know what all of you guys have said here, and the top couple of clubs are in transitional periods, whereas we've kept our manager. Yes, we've shipped out a lot of players, but they weren't key players. I mean, you look at what's come in, as in you've got to think that, what if Sanogo beds down and he comes on and he scores a couple of goals and he gets into that team? And I probably fucking sound like I'm on something here, but what if Bentner comes back wanting to move to?
Fuck
What
off.
if
He's a
what if
cunt.
he wants to
Fuck
come
off.
back and move to a new club?
Yeah,
So he
World
comes
Cup
back and
year
he
as well.
scores a few
Absolutely.
goals. I don't care if he's
time-
doing it.
Now,
Do you
by time Bentner's fit, hopefully either Chamberlain or Podolski, or please God both, are back and fully fit. I do not want to see Bentner anywhere near. He's a distraction. The mere fact that he changed his shirt number to how much he was getting paid a week tells me all I need to know about that money grabbing, fucking egotistical, big-headed cunt. He can go fuck himself. Absolutely fuck himself. Seriously, I would rather. Right, I would, as much as I hate to admit this, I'd rather see Diaby on the pitch than that prick.
Oh my God!
That's how much. Ben, just no. He shouldn't be allowed anywhere near the first team. I don't care how desperate. But nothing, right? I don't care. I would rather. I'd rather see us play 4-6-0. I'd rather play us with a fake number 9, a fake number 10, a fake number fucking everything, than see Bentner anywhere near us. He's a cunt. He's an absolute prick. He just
Don't
does
hold
not
back,
deserve.
Don't hold back.
Well, no, I'm actually being quite restrained.
No.
I'm not actually wishing that the fella fucking dies yet, but that's how I just don't want to. I know. I'm sorry, but I don't want to see that fucking prick anywhere near. He should not be allowed to train near the first team. Do you know what I mean?
How do you really feel, mate?
Well, do you know what I mean, I can sum it up
We
in
get
2
it.
words. Well, 3 words actually. He's a cunt.
But the point I was
No,
trying to make.
that Gim.
Hear me out.
No buts. He's a cunt.
All right, no buts. He's a cunt, but I don't care if he's a cunt. If he's going and if he's scoring goals in the team, I don't
won't.
care what they get up to in their home life off the pitch, as long as they go there on a Saturday and they perform to the best of their abilities and they're scoring goals. Who gives a fuck? I don't like Bentner. I've never claimed to like Bentner. I don't like Van Persie, but I'd have him back because I know he could score 20 goals a season. Do you know what I mean? Fucking as long as they do the business on the pitch, he could go off and smoke crack as far as I care. That's all I care about. And the point that I was trying to make is, yes, we've got these players coming back. Yes, they could do a job. We could be injury free, and it's all in the stars at the moment. I think if all of these things come together and unite, I think we could have a very strong season. But at the moment, as I sit here with my real head on, I'm saying we're going to finish third.
Gim, can I ask you? Do you think Bentner would improve your fantasy football team?
You can fuck off. I know what you're trying to say. Do you know what, right? I had this out with Danny. He's picked a team of ex-Arsenal players, which we all know most have gone on to do absolutely fuck all. And even that team is ahead of me. I mean, what the fuck? Gentlemen, please.
So where are you in the fantasy league at the moment?
I think I'm about 7 from bottom.
7 from bottom?
7 from bottom.
And there's nearly 1,653 teams, and he's top, but top of the very last page. And my own team, I can't even tell. I think my own team is about 300th. With no Man United. If you're listening and you're in our fantasy league and you think you're going to win and get a guest slot on the podcast, if you've got any Man United or Spurs players in your team, you ain't coming on. Sunshine.
I must have looked at my team once I'd finished picking it, and I must have been like Arsene Wenger when he looked at Igor Stepanovs and went, nice.
Maybe we should just do a little update. The person who is winning our fantasy football league is FC Abue, which is owned by Ellis. Oh, here we go. You and your non-English names. MEHL, I think it is. How do you say that? Mel. Ellis Mel. And just going to do a little check, see if he's got any Man United or Spurs. He's got no Man United or Spurs. There you go. A legit... Oh, hello, Lily. Lily's come in. And second place is... Scott FC. Wonder if he's got any Spurs. Oh, he's got bloody Walker at right back.
Delete him, Dan. Just kick him out.
He's dead to us. Dead.
You can, Dan. If you've got the admin on that, mate, you can just delete him. Just fuck him off. Just delete him.
We are actually, both of us have joined your league, your She War League.
Have you? Okay.
And in your She War League, my personal team is 174th.
That ain't bad. I've no idea where I am actually.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm just looking through the names, and Mr. Gay.
I know I'm beating Gimli. That's a fact.
Everyone's beating Gimli. Fuck's sake.
Right, come on, you fuckers. Let's have your shout-outs.
By the way, Danny, so I know we were doing the under-21 score. Sonogo, he's not scored any of the goals, but he's actually got all 3 assists.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh,
spicy.
That is... If anyone's scored, they're 5-0 up now.
Oh, okay. Well, he had 3 assists. I'm just looking at Lana DeWood's account, and she's saying that Sonogo has a hat trick of assists, and he deserves a goal because he's been brilliant in the second half.
I noticed that when he was playing in the under-21s.
Under-20s, yeah, he was brilliant.
He was absolutely. There was another one who stood out, who was about 9 foot tall, and he was fucking brilliant as well.
Pogba and Kondogbia.
I think that might have been it. It might have been Kondogbia.
I think you're coming down with a cold.
Oh, I'm mid-table. I've just looked. I'm 441st.
And the Arsenal ladies are still 0-0 at home, not in shitty Lincoln.
Which just for your records, Gimli, I'm 600 places above you.
Oh, thank you very much. Can I have a shout out then, please? Danny, to start.
Right, I was told to do a shout out by Arsenal Vigilante, who is at AFC Vigilante. He said, "This is my shout out. This is what I want." So I couldn't say no to that. And our guest prediction person, he stepped in at the last second and did the predictions a couple of weeks ago. Daniel Thomas. Hello, Daniel. He tweets us regularly. Very nice bloke. Who is at Daniel T92 Wales. So he's one of your Welsh. Do you have a Welsh mafia?
Yeah, he's my next door neighbour.
Is he?
Yeah, such a small place.
That's right, Tidy.
Yeah, I know.
And then everyone's favourite lady who's been... Oh, actually, we can't say that anymore because we had Kate and Amanda on the podcast. Our first equal favourite female Gooner, Sardia, who is at the Goonerette. And she will be back on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a couple of females on throughout the course of the season, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got Nikki.
Did you get clearance from the police for that, by the way?
Yeah, but you're not allowed to look directly at them. You have to use mirrors.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Because you're 90% right angle.
90% right angle.
Yeah.
I love it. Are you done with your shout-outs?
I'm over and done.
Okay, let's go over to GC for his then.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to a fella who's under Twitter as the Arsenal Horse.
Oh yeah, I've followed him.
Yeah, who along with a couple of chaps that we've done a couple of the history pods for in the past, Andy Kelly and Mark Andrews, whose Twitter names I can't think of off the top of my head.
That'd be AK. Or if you go and have a look at mine, I only follow a couple of hundred people, but go and look for RMA, and the other one is AK. Gunner AK.
They're on the website, aren't they? Their names are actually on the website.
We are actually They actually went out and did a little thing where they went to Arsenal's first ever ground. I think it was Plumstead Common, and they did an entire day of tour taking photos. And they've done a write-up. So we think we are having that on the site as a special page on the site. That's a lot of work that they've put in, and so we're just going to try and get together and put that on there. And that is going to be something worth seeing. They went to all the old places, and one of the photos they actually went into someone's back garden where they've still got part of the standing area.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Gav's going to host that podcast, isn't he, when they come on, because I'm off to Colombia for a week.
Yeah, if anyone's got any historical questions for me and Gav will be hosting. I'll be pressing buttons because I'm a monkey. And yeah, we've got about 6 or 7 questions. So if you've got any decent historical questions that you can give for me and Gav, Mark and Andy, let us know. Tweet us or go to the website and contact us or anything. The more the merrier. Go on, Gav.
Excellent. Right. Well, basically, what they're doing on Friday, which is tomorrow, the 6th of September, there's a lot of them meeting up in a pub at 3:00 called the Dial Arch, which is in Plumstead. They're gonna have a drink there and have a chat, and then they're all gonna make their way in timely fashion back to Highbury. And they're going to have a little walk around the old pitch, and then they're going to go into the Gunners pub for 8:00, where they've got a DJ and some food and blah blah blah. It's just basically to celebrate 100 years since Arsenal moved from south of the water to lovely sunny Islington. So,
is that in Woolwich itself?
The Dial Arch restaurant and bar, which I believe is, I think it's Plumstead Woolwich area. Like I say, I mean, if you go to shewar.com, not a plug for my own site there.
Plug!
You plug away.
Yeah, if you go to
your lovely new site.
Yeah, if you go to shewar.com, the Arsenal Horse at Twitter, he wrote a little blog explaining what's happening, what the timings are. But like I say, it's 3:00 at the Dial Arch, the Dial Arch restaurant and bar, which I believe is in Southeast 18.
Oh yeah, I've got it here. It's called the Dial Arch Buildings, Major Draper Street, Royal Arsenal, Woolwich, London, SE 18 6GH.
Yep. So basically, it's 3:00 there. Then they're all going to make their way over by 7 o'clock to have a look around our old former home. God bless her soul. And then 8 o'clock, everybody's in the Gunners. And like I say, it's going to be a DJ and some food, and hopefully more chats and more laughs. And I hope they have a good night and have a good time. Really, like I say, it sounds a good event.
Certainly does.
Okay, FK, over to you now.
I've got 2 shout outs this week. One for a good friend of mine, Brandon. He is known as Red Army or at Bold AFC. That's BOULD AFC. North London Islington boy through and through. Love his tweets. Second is for a friend of mine, Emily. She's got a new account on Twitter, so it's at _. So that's EMY_. Get following. Thanks.
Okay, and finally, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. So yesterday, I sent out a tweet yesterday morning, and it was about I think there's those parody Nazi videos, where they have Hitler going crazy, and they always dub it to be something about football. When I said it'd be hilarious if someone created one about the moment that Daniel Levy realised Ozil had joined Arsenal. And loads of people sent me links to ones that had already been done. But a guy called at Funky Chris, who I think you guys know,
Dirty little
bitch. He went and created one, and it was pretty funny. So yeah, I'll give him a follow. Go watch his YouTube channel. I think he's done a couple of others as well about fake ITKs, which is pretty funny.
He's a very funny man.
Yeah, it was really funny, and it was really I was really happy with that. So thanks for that, Chris, if you're listening.
Have you got any shout-outs, Mr. Gimli?
I do.
Do you want to give Chris a shout out, Gim?
Yeah, no. Hello,
Funky Chris? Oh, we love Funky.
Yeah.
And if you fuck him off, he will choke slam you like a bitch.
Yeah. he literally suplexed Danny through a table untold amount of times.
So him, Steve Rogers, and Owen are 3 of the funniest people on Twitter. So if you want to go and watch, let's go and have a look at him. I only follow 200 odd people, and all 3 of those are in there.
The one person that I wanted to shout out tonight was a guy called Diamond Jack. He's been a long-term fan of the show. He always listens in, he always retweets what we do, and always leaves some positive feedback. So his name on Twitter is at Diamond__Jack. So get following him.
So then, Gimli, have you been on any other podcasts lately that you'd like to inform the listeners about?
Do you know what? That's funny you actually say that, because on Tuesday, me and John, who is Guna in BCN, he actually came on a very, very good podcast called Gunners Down Under, and that's at, if you want to find them on Twitter, at Gunners DWN Under. And a big hello to Matty B and the BFG. We appeared on episode 7, which was the transfer window special. So a big hello to them, and go and have a listen to that. It's a very good podcast indeed.
And I must apologise for being in bed when I should have been doing it, but John did it instead, and that's much, much better, because he has his dulcet South American Barcelonian tones. We should give a little shout out to our Facebook page, which is run by Aran, which sounds wrong. It's Aaron, but it's Aran, ARRAN. Just go and follow him as well. It's go to Facebook, look up the AFC podcast. We've got 218 of you cheeky monkey bitches out there liking it. So if we could get that to 219, the 220th person will get a naked picture of Gimli on the toilet again.
Yeah, and also when you finish listening to this podcast, if you could leave just some kind feedback at the bottom, maybe just something like Danny's a cunt, or I love FK's voice, or Gav irritates me, or just something like that, just to say if you've enjoyed the show, that would be fantastic.
And we do have an Instagram thing with no pictures on it, and we have a YouTube channel with one thing on it.
Yeah, no, we've got pictures of beige nipples on Instagram.
How about faggots?
Yeah, no faggots as well. I had them for dinner. Anyway, before we go, I'll tell you about who's on next week's show.
Can you hear this?
Yes.
I'll fade it down like a pro. Fading, go.
You're such a geek. Next week on the show, me and Danny are going to be joined by Steve, and that's Mr. Lord Hillwood. John's going to be back with us, so that's at Guna in BCM. That's this week. That is this week.
Am I putting you off?
Yeah, you are big time. And you're
No,
such
no,
a
no,
twat. Shut up. And we've also got Robbie with Arsenal Fan TV with us. That is the 12th of September, isn't it?
Oh,
Ah,
go on,
brilliant.
Robbie. Good lad, Robbie.
No,
He's a
he's,
good lad.
everyone
Yeah,
go and
great
have a
guy.
follow of his Twitter. It's very good, and the videos he does are brilliant too.
Yep. So that's who we've got with us next week. So that's going to be another cracking pod to look out for. So that was an Ozil Wonderland podcast.
Oh, cheeky. I
And
like
keep it
that.
Arsenal. Good night. Nanu, silly bitches.
Surprised you didn't say a Benter Wonderland, you fucking idiot.